Edmonton Eskimos no more. It's the Edmonton Elks. And that's, we won't start there with Zig Fracassi as we bring him in from Sirius XM NFL Radio in Manhattan, but we'll get around to it. Well, he's home today, I see. Hey, Ziggy, you continue to be at home, huh?
Well, I am in the studios 3 days a week, Rod. And then the other 2, I am at home. So how you doing, my friend?
100%, my man. It's not Vegas Golden Knights game day, but we're getting there. You must have a spot in your heart for the Golden Knights, Ziggy, from the time you spent in Sin City, I would think.
I do. I actually kind of adopted them as a team, Rod. And, I lived there from 1985 to 2001. So, everyone thought that Vegas wasn't a great hockey market. But actually, the Thunder were out there. You remember them, of course, Alexei Yashin, Clint Malarchuk, Patrice Lefebvre. A bunch of guys came through there, and they would get probably 5,000 or 6,000 fans a game there at the Thomas and Mack Center. And then I think the Wranglers came maybe after I left. And then when, people laughed at Oscar Goodman, the mayor of Vegas at the time, when he broached Gary Bettman saying, hey, Vegas could be an NHL market. And fast forward to 2017-18, and the first 4 years of their existence, Rod, consistent sellouts, of course, before pandemic, of course, but still a great hockey town, and I think it's got a chance to grow even further, although I think they're up against the outstanding Avalanche team in this series.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Game 1 wasn't that much fun, but the series is going to be fun. It's unreal that anybody would say what a great hockey town Vegas is unless you went and saw it, and it is an unreal hockey town. But you never really accepted my bet, I don't think, on the Bruins Islanders, which is dinner at Del Frisco's. Did you say we're in on that or what?
I thought I gave you the thumbs up. Yeah, so if you win, you can get the early bird, and I win, I get anything I want. So, yeah, we could do that. Next time you're in New York, we'll definitely do Del Frisco's because it's right in my building.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Darren, you would love steakhouse in the basement of the Sirius XM. Well, not basement, main floor. Sorry. So the Islanders won in overtime last night. You saw it. Cizikas with the winner, Zig. Would have been something for the Bruins to go up 2-0. This looks like it's going to be a long series.
Yeah, I believe so. And give the Islanders some credit. I mean, they were the opportunistic team last night. Now, granted, of the goals, the first one goes in off Lozon, who later became villain number 1, that ill-advised cross pass in the overtime to set up Cizikas' breakaway. Some concerning things, though. Second period, I thought, was not very good. Tuukka Rask at times looked like he was fighting it, and now they're saying that there's some lingering injuries, so you got to wonder if his back is acting up again. But again, the Islanders took it to him in the second periods. I thought the Bruins were the better team in the first and the third. Islanders better in the overtime, so they deserve a lot of credit. Barry Trotz has them playing well. Now it's a best of 5, and it wouldn't shock me if this ultimately goes 7.
Hey, buddy, what do you think Chara's going to do? Somebody sent me a tweet from Chara's last game with the Caps talking about, is he done? He's not ever going to be back in Boston, I don't think, but you must be a Chara fan. Do you think he's got some tread left on the tire?
Boy, at this point, Rod, well, I disagree slightly. I think he will be back in Boston at some point, but not as a player. No, I think if Bruce Cassidy, if those guys are smart, Don Sweeney, Cam Neely, I think they bring him in after he's done playing as some sort of, mentor, advisor, maybe, coach the defense if he wanted to do that, say down in Providence, or be some kind of an advisor. I think he's a Bruin through and through. But to answer your question, I think this past year, Rod, even though it wasn't terribly far from Boston to Washington, you heard some things about this being a tough year in the sense of not on the ice, because I thought he was still pretty good, but in the sense of being away from his wife, his kids. There's got to get to a point where, he is 44 years old. What more do you truly need to accomplish? So I just think from more of a family and rest of his life standpoint, it probably wouldn't surprise me if Chara did walk away. Because I don't know if, like, say, for example, if a team out west went looking for him, that would really put some stress on the family if they were not to move from Boston. So that's why I think I would lean towards him probably retiring.
I gotcha. Craig Smith's watching, our director of scouting. 2 decades in the Canadian Football League. He says, Zig Fracassi, that calming voice I would hear on Sirius when I was driving that lonely highway to the next football assignment, much like listening to Peterson and Carteri or Peterson and Mullender. Smitty, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. And I love Ziggy's voice, too. He's chosen the right profession.
And by the way, we need the other Craig Smith to play. He was out in game 2. So for that Craig Smith, we need him back on the ice for the Bruins.
He is a big factor. Absolutely. There's no doubt. Nashville did okay without him now, but no, Smith is amazing. To the National Football League, my friend, and the Aaron Rodgers saga seems to just be turning on a daily basis, but ever so slowly. Are you tired of the story? What's your take on Aaron Rodgers in the pack?
Yeah, I mean, after a while, it gets a little bit numbing. I mean, although we are now in June, so it'll be interesting to see. Maybe we'll get some more momentum in terms of the actual training camp news. Now, of course, June 1st is a big day around the NFL because after today, Rod, you could either cut some guys and get cap relief, or in the case of a Julio Jones, if Atlanta were to trade him, they could spread out his money over a couple of years on their salary cap. But back to Rodgers, again, I've heard all the interviews, heard all the speculation, and when Aaron was on with Kenny Mayne, he made it quite clear that it wasn't the draft pick of Jordan Love. Says he liked the kid a lot, or even loved the guy, loved his teammates, loved the fans, loved the coaches, which was eye-opening because, the media was making up that row between him and Matt LaFleur, which apparently never existed. So if you read between the tea leaves, Rod, there's an issue there with Coos, the GM, and also the president, Mark Murphy, who's had a long, distinguished career as a player and executive in the National Football League. So that seems to be where the problem therein lies. So if they were to trade him, I think it would have been done by now. Does Aaron pull a power play and sit out? And I've heard it even suggested that he comes back, sits the first 10 games, Rod, comes back for the next 6 to get a vested season in the NFL. That wouldn't surprise me, but Green Bay's got to get this thing resolved before too long because they got to find out, how long is Rodgers in for the interim, and when can they go to Jordan Love when he ultimately does become the quarterback, if he becomes the quarterback.
Yeah, well, I knew that you'd be on top of it. Producer Clark said this is the latest. Rodgers won't be traded, so they're going to have to find a way. I'm going to go a little off the board with my next one, Zig. And with this new television deal, everybody sees the money in the NFL. And what I see is the pressure. The money may go up, but the pressure goes up. You thought there was pressure before. You know what I'm saying? With more money, more pressure. That's how it goes. And my example of that is Trevor Lawrence, when they came out of this mini camp, whatever they called it here, this most recent thing. Headline in the Jacksonville paper, Lawrence not perfect in red zone. And I'm like, what did you think he was going to be? You're probably throwing 7-on-7. He's a rookie. What the hell? I don't think people think about the pressure a kid like that is under, or Zach Wilson, or Trey Lance, or any of those first-round guys.
Yeah, and it's going to take some time. I mean, Trevor Lawrence was outstanding at Clemson. I mean, the kid's not used to losing, Rod. He's been basically practically unbeaten, although there are a couple losses there at Clemson. But the point is, he may wind up losing more games in the first month of the season than he ever did in high school and college. So that's going to be worth a concern. And again, what's the trajectory and what's the realistic expectation in terms of these particular markets? Again, I'm looking for Lawrence to start day one. I'm thinking Zach Wilson will ultimately start day one for the Jets. And if I'm a fan base, if I'm the media, I got to look at, all right, there's going to be growing pains. He's going to look bad, probably more than he does look good. But I think if I see tangible proof that, there's good, they're competitive in each game. So say if Jacksonville wound up, 5-11, 6-10, but they were more improved and they were competitive in every game, to me, that's a sign of trajectory that he's going to be a good quarterback going forward. So the pressure is definitely there, but I think the expectations need to be tempered somewhat because Jacksonville and New York Jets, those are two teams. They're not one of those, Rod, where I think you snap a finger and you add a few free agents and bring in that rookie franchise quarterback, and all of a sudden things are going to get better. They have to have a plan, and I think both those organizations actually do have a plan.
Speaking of that, you could use one of those two teams to answer this question or another one. What team do you think makes a big step in 2021 in the National Football League? Like a non-playoff team that gets in the playoffs.
That star on their helmet, Rod. And I know you had my boy Scotty Laughlin on the last hour. And we were worried that this would be too much Cowboys love over here, but they're the one. If Dak comes back, and obviously things are trending in that direction, that offensive line, which was totally banged up last year, I think a rededicated Zeke Elliott, because last year he had the issues with the fumbles. So you've got those factors, and if they play any semblance of defense this year, and say what you want about Dan Quinn and some of the gaffes that he's had, but he's also been a very good defensive coordinator, and they've reshuffled that personnel there, Rod. If they get any semblance of defense, I think they're back in the hunt, if not winning the NFC East.
Of course. I was thinking that you would say America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. And Zig, what do you put on coaching, like a premium on coaching? Mike Nolan never gave them a chance last year. And some dumb play calling by Mike McCarthy too. But I think just a change of a defensive coordinator is going to mean potentially 3 more wins, at least. That's what I think.
Yeah, well, I got to be honest, Rod. Mike's a good friend of mine, so I got to, I cringe, but I also know that what I say is that I think they probably tried to do too much in terms of changing now. As the year wore on, they actually started to create turnovers and make plays, but I think by then it was just seemingly a lost cause. So unfortunately, Mike Nolan paid dearly for that, although he is an accomplished football guy. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Dan Quinn ideally does more of what the Cowboys did before last year instead of, basically the 4-3 setup and that kind of thing with their coverages on in the back line and everything like that. So I think it'll be a return, but you've also got some new faces. And you also need guys like DeMarcus Lawrence to step up because he was kind of a lost cause last year. Jalen Smith looked way out of place in that defensive setup, so you're hoping that a return to some familiarity helps him out. And that their draft picks, they went heavy. What was it, first 6 picks, franchise history on defensive players. So if they're able to assimilate all of that in, Diggs continues to step up as a shutdown corner. That's where I think they'll be better on that side of the ball. And I agree, coaching does mean a lot. So much. Ryan McCarthy watching in Saratoga, New York says, Zig is right. I'm a Jets fan, and most of us agree that this is going to be a multi-year build by Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh. Am I saying it right? Saleh? Saleh,
sorry. And Darnell Theros from Rockstar Supply Chain Solutions says, Eagles. In 60 seconds, Zig, what's going to happen with the birds?
Hopefully they don't fly the coop. Ooh, that's a bad attempt. No, Hurts definitely has to step up. That is a no-brainer there. You got to have your first-round pick. Smith obviously contribute right away. They've got to have, like the Cowboys. The Eagles had major attrition on the offensive line last year. I think the Kerrigan addition helps them defensively. If all those things come into place, this could be a 4-horse race in the NFC East this year. So maybe the Eagles get things turned around because it's been a pretty strict and downward slope since their Super Bowl appearance here. They got to get things right under the new coach Sirianni. A
fast, steep drop-off decline. You're right. Zig, thanks. As always, I look forward to you buying me supper at Del Frisco's, my man. Enjoy the hockey, and we'll be listening.
There you go. I'll start saving my pennies now, Rod.
I got you. You probably got some coupons. Zig Fracassi from Sirius XM NFL Radio joining us from New York.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.